it seems it's really important to begin to pay attention to what Venerable Geshe-la has to say about breathing meditation in particular, and developing a peaceful mind. At least for me, it became very important, because the problem was, as I came to understand, was that I was very fixed on the result of the experience of peace, rather than the process of developing that peaceful mind. And so therefore I felt that I was always falling short. And in that process, I was strongly identifying with myself as basically someone who has a very unpeaceful mind, and someone who sucks at breathing meditation. And so, therefore, I felt while I was practicing breathing meditation that at some sense I was trying to subdue myself, like force myself into a peaceful state. I felt like I was fighting my own nature. I was an unruly being. And here I was trying to tame myself, like in the Westerns when they're trying to, break in a horse, something like that. And anyway, I felt like I wasn't very successful at doing it. And so Geshe-la has some, I think, very important things to teach. I certainly had some very important things to teach me here. So I'm going to give you one of the quotes from the appendix in How to Transform Your Life. It's probably a quote most of you are familiar with. But it was a sentence that became very, very important to me. And it's during his discussion of, or presentation, we can say, of breathing meditation. And so he's talking about what happens when gradually you are able to keep your mind on the breath. And he says, probably many of you can recite along with me, when the turbulence of our distracting minds subsides. Is it thoughts? When the turbulence of distracting thoughts subsides and our mind becomes still, a deep happiness and contentment naturally arises from within. When the turbulence of our distracting thoughts subsides and our mind becomes still, a deep happiness and contentment naturally arises from within. And the word that was very important to me, well, the whole sentence is very important, but the one word that really had a deep impact upon me is the word naturally. When the turbulence of distracting thoughts subsides and our mind becomes still, a deep happiness, which sounds really good, a deep happiness and contentment naturally arises from within. Naturally. So what is that saying? What that's saying is that all we need to do is to let go, not repress, not push down our unruly minds. We just need to let them go. We need to just stop following them. And that when we do that, when our mind settles, it naturally becomes peaceful, and therefore naturally becomes happy. In fact, not just happy, deeply happy. Deep happiness. Deep happiness, not normally a phrase bandied about on a Friday night in New York City. Deep happiness. So what this is indicating is that inner peace is natural to the mind. Inner peace is natural to the mind when it's not disturbed. Right in the beginning, in that amazing opening chapter called Inner Peace, Geshe says. He's talking about like how it's possible to remove, right, all the delusions from the mind, like removing mud from water. And he says, with no delusions remaining in the mind, there is nothing to disturb our inner peace and joy. With no delusions remaining in the mind, there is nothing to disturb our inner peace and joy. Nothing. So, in other words, we've only got one problem: delusions. Our mind is naturally peaceful, naturally joyful, when not disturbed by the delusions. And the delusions are not natural to the mind. The delusions are mental distortions, on the basis of which all the suffering that we experience are all hallucinations arising from misapprehensions of reality. But our reality, when perceived correctly, is pervaded by peace. So that, to me, was something I could really start working with. It helped me understand that I needn't try to force myself into a peaceful state. I could actually relax into a peaceful state. Geshe explains it. You just keep bringing your mind back to the breath, but in a relaxed way, knowing that you're not fighting your nature. No, quite the opposite. You're relaxing into your nature. You're not fighting yourself. You're actually just learning, we might say, to tune into yourself, your actual self, your pure nature. You're learning to tune into that, which is why meditation is so relaxing when you do it correctly. For a long time, I wasn't very good at doing it correctly. I'm a little better now. And the result is that you start getting a little taste for inner peace, arising naturally just by allowing yourself to stay with the breath. And then a little bit of peace arises in your mind. And you can actually begin to identify then, oh, this is the peaceful, pure nature of my mind. Yay. Yay. That means you can, do you know that experience of like when you're trying to hold a peaceful mind? Do you know that experience? And it feels like you are like trying to subdue an out-of-control horse, or a bit more like hold on to a sort of hamster that's trying to get away. Be peaceful. As opposed to, no, you're just relaxing into your nature. And of course, the more you relax into that nature, which basically means the more you are focusing on it, abiding with it, then the more that peaceful, pure nature begins to expand. The more it grows. And there you are with some incredible insights arising out of basic breathing meditation. Wisdom arising from your breathing meditation. And to me, this is actually really key. That the breathing meditation isn't just about, oh, I just need to get to some temporary pacification before I can proceed with the rest of the puja. No, it's actually about developing some very, very deep, profound insights into the nature of who you are and what you can be.